Flag to the checkered flag right here on Sim Racing Media. And I'll tell you what, John, the Moonshiners League that we get to see week in and week out here is exciting no matter when you get a chance to peek in. And I'll tell you what, when you asked me to stop over here and help out tonight, I was more than excited.
Well, I mean, what else would you expect, Dave? I mean, there's 39 drivers in this field tonight. It's just it doesn't get any better than that when you have 40 drivers in the field, and it's going to be an awesome evening at Phoenix.
Without a doubt. I mean, last week, Chad Sullivan brings home the checkered flag, even after Sean Kaltenbach brought home the pole position. You know, everything was very different last week, you know, throughout the race at Las Vegas. Chad Sullivan brings home the checkered flag. Alex Coffey and Kenny Coppola each bring home stage wins. You know, the most laps, 136 from Kenny Coppola. So, you know, a busy night on the racetrack as we get ready to grid up here. And let's take a look at these drivers as we get ready to go, John.
That's right, Dave. If you'll just go real quick, go through that the grid for us real fast, we would really appreciate that. I had to fix one thing briefly back on the screen now.
Matt Cox going to sit on the pole position tonight. Matt's going to be joined on the front row by South Lyon, Michigan's very own Kenny Coppola. Alex Coffey from McDonough, Georgia, going to be on the inside of row number 2, while Shane Davis going to be featured on his outside. Row number 3 going to feature Tim Wertman Jr. and Brandon Bike in the number 1 Toyota Camry. Stephen Gibson and Chris Davis going to be in row number 4, while Randy Mullins and Nigel Christensen out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, going to be in row 5. Barry Sanders, Chief Cook and Bottle Washer here in the Moonshiners League, going to be in row number 6 alongside Paul Gallimore, while Hunter Carmichael and Kendall Levron going to be in row number 7. Row number 8 going to be Matt Campbell and Johnny Shade, while Brian Woodruff and Jeff Taylor going to hold down row number 9. Row 10 and rounding out the top 20 is Paul Whitley and Nick King, while Justin Belmonte and Caden Norfrey are going to be in row number 11. Row number 12 going to feature Darren Mills and Jordan Schmeetz, while Nicholas Atwood and Chris Spear going to be in row 13. Chad Sullivan, a longtime veteran here in the league, going to be alongside Cedar Rapids, Iowa's very own Blaine Wilson. Aaron Matthews and Warren Young going from Jonesville, North Carolina, going to be in row 14, while Aaron Matthews and Ryan Huff in row 15. Darren Mullins and Kyle Holden in row 16. John Binder and Jamison Middlemiss from Salisbury, North Carolina in row 17. Matt Mackin from Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series fame from Cleveland, Ohio, going to be in row number 18 alongside Jared Clark, while Dean Motley and Derek Pemberton going to be starting shotgun on the field. Pemberton out of Medina, Ohio. So 38 drivers scheduled to take the green flag tonight, 200 laps the scheduled distance. Of course, we will have stage racing tonight. Stage 1 going to be we have stage racing tonight, so we'll get that info to you momentarily. And right now, it's just about time, John.
At just about time, indeed. Take a moment right here. So Phoenix Motor Speedway, of course, that is out in Arizona. Track temperature is 106 degrees. I checked that back, 108 degrees. Outside air temperature is 79 degrees. But this is going to be a fun one. The pace car is already off. And race fans, we're into the restart zone with Matt Cox and Kenny Coppola as we're on the throttle. And we are underway here at Phoenix in the Tony Trapasso Memorial booth. And look at that right there, 4 wide already. Drivers cutting the dog leg right from the get-go as we're going to enter into turn number 1.
Yes, sir. As Kenny Coppola going to be working the high side here, he's going to be challenged now by Shane Davis, as Shane going to be working just underneath. Looks already, my goodness, like Matt Cox coming out of pit road early after he wanted to start down there. He's going to be right behind race leader Kenny Coppola in the 77. Shane Davis. Oh, contact between Brandon Bike and Alex Coffey, but no harm, no foul as we work our way through turns 3 and 4 once again here. Coming back. Oh, my. That's getting close and close. Wow. The 1 finally checking up there and allowing a little bit of space for Davis.
And they're going to get through cleanly. So let's talk about the stage breaks. Lap 45, 90, and then you got 110 laps to decide the winner here. So stage 1 is 45, stage 2 lap 90, and then it'll be 110 laps to finish out at 200. Side-by-side racing right here. Back in the 6th, 7th position with Chris Davis and Tim Mortman Jr. That's one spot behind that number 1 machine of Brandon Bake. And I saw cautions out. Damage. You can see cars are still wrecking, and the whole field is stuck. Parking lot on the front stretch.
That's definitely not the way that you wanted to go there. Kevin Levon, woof, is going to get a beating out of this one. And of course, once you turn sideways, that whole backstretch, is basically like a log jam. Once you turn sideways, there's almost no room for a car to get above or below you.
Yeah, it's all about if your brakes are going to work well for you or not, and in this case, there's just nowhere to go. And you see it right there, the number 28 machine, I believe that is going to get turned around. It's going to be a huge impact from the 01. The 74 is going to hit them. Numerous cars involved. So Paul Whitney, the Blaine Wilson machine just snuck through there. Kyle Holden was involved with that. Matt Mackin's back there. Kendall Levron. Dean Motley, multiple drivers involved and all going down pit road. So Matt Campbell's on pit road, Sullivan, Nicholas Atwood, and a handful of others here on lap 5.
Absolutely. As I'm getting, bear with me here, John, as I'm just getting some things sorted out. As we take a look here at that replay once again, I'll tell you what, John, these drivers have absolutely got to get things together.
Well, you know, Phoenix is a tough track, and you're out here, it's 108 degrees. It's going to be a bit slippery. These guys, yes, they did some practice for the race. Yes, they did qualifying, but they haven't really ran in the pack of 39 cars yet. So they did most of their runs in clean air. Now the air is much more turbulent. iRacing does an excellent job now at the models as far as doing turbulent air, and you can see that by going to Talladega, Daytona, iRacing Super Speedway, Atlanta. Cars pull up right next to you on the right side, and it pulls the air off your car. You slow down, and the same factors come into play here. But the idea is it's turbulent, the car is more loose, and you're going to struggle off turns 4 and turns 2.
When we go back, green flag racing, going to be Kenny Coppola going to bring us back to green as we head down the back chute. Matt Cox going to be along with him, as well as Alex Coffey and Brandon Bike on those front 2 rows. And I'll tell you what, I've raced alongside of Kenny Coppola before, and he is a competitive driver, probably one of the best in the business here on the iRacing.com services. The iRacing.com pace car makes the hard left turn down pit road. Kenny Coppola, this is we've talked about this almost every time we call a race here at Phoenix. You know, you get excited when you see the iRacing.com pace car peel on down pit road, but here at Phoenix, this is a long way back to the front stretch as Kenny Coppola leads us down into the Geico restart zone. And as he enters it, he's going to drop the hammer, and we're back underway.
Back underway, Kenny Coppola up front. He was last week's Stage 2 winner and led the most laps at 136 when we were in Vegas last week. So he's no stranger to being up front. As Shane Davis is going to slide right up in front of Matt Cox. That was awfully close for the 32 and the 79, but the 79 gives him room, and we're still under green right here. 2x2 racing the rest of the way back.
Yes, 2x2 on the way to the arc as Matt Cox just went from starting in the pits to now being up here in second position. Kenny Coppola already opening up about an 0.8 of a second gap between himself and Cox. And all of a sudden, Cox is being challenged now by Brandon Bike in a battle for second position as they are side by side. Just behind him, that's Alex Coffey and Shane Davis. As Davis going to be on the high side over top of Coffey and just allows Coffey on by for the time being.
Also worth mentioning that only Kenny Coppola and Matt Cox have posted a time in the 27-second range. The rest of the field is running 28:05 or slower, and Kenny Coppola and Matt Cox have both been in the 27 range, and we are under caution number 2 as you see the pace car shoot through and be an invisible ghost flying through the field as he is now pacing and we'll show you what happened in just a moment. I think it had to do with maybe Paul Gallimore. Oh, there's the number 9 car? Is the number 3? Number 3 machine, or 33 perhaps?
That's a 43 ahead of Gallimore. And the 3. And it looks like, the 3 washes right up into the 43. Gets sideways, and that's when bad things happen.
I think there's a timing and scoring issue.
Unscathed.
Because I saw a 3 on the side of a car, but I don't see a 3 on the scoring.
Could be a timing and scoring issue or a trading paints issue.
Yeah, and that's making this a little bit more difficult. We'll back this up, try to see it again. We saw the car go around. It looked like it was a number 3. Got to try to figure out where this was. It was around Paul Gallimore. It was just in front of him. 13. That is. Several cars right there. Unfortunately, I just don't have a really good angle of what happened for this caution. Try to watch it one more time. Still struggling to get the information on what happened there. That's unfortunate. I'm not really certain. I think it was the number 13 machine, but again, that car is not in timing and scoring, and so there it is. I take that back, Dave.
Things happen.
So Johnny Shade, that is, I believe, is the car that has trouble. And I apologize to you guys watching and bearing with me as we're trying to find the machine here. Usually our software will catch it and grab it real well. In this case, it just didn't. So, no, but it was not the 13. It was the number 3 machine right there. Hunter Carmichael was. So Hunter Carmichael kind of got sideways right there, and that brought out the caution. But the issue was it really wasn't an incident and a lot of damage. He just got sideways as the caution came out, and everybody kind of went on their merry way. And we didn't have a major incident to go back to and chase down. So that's caution number 2. It's lap 12 of 200. Probably get back to green this time by on our way to the end of stage 1 for lap 45. Kenny Capola, Matt Cox lead the way. Current largest mover is Jamison Middlemiss in 21st, starting much further back as up 15 positions in the number 16 Chevrolet.
Whoa, how did I find myself in this dimension? My name is Sidney Cook. I'm here to commentate as well. My bad for coming late, I had some technical issues.
It's all right, Sydney. I'm glad you're able to join us now, folks. Sydney is trying us out for this event. He hasn't done this before, but we thought we'd add a third in the booth as Kenny Capola is on the throttle into turn number 1. That's lap 13. Brandon Bakey going all the way down below the yellow line, trying to get an edge into turn number 1. It's not going to work for him as Matt Cox will be side by side with him as they roll through the corner. Sydney, it's good for you to be here. Tell us a little bit about your, what do you know about the Phoenix Motor Speedway? Is this a track you enjoy coming to racing to or watching?
Honestly, I love watching the races. I can't say I love driving them though. It's quite a hard track to get around. I find that in old turn 3, maybe, I don't know what turn it is now since the update, but the corner onto the front stretch always had me in trouble.
Yeah, Phoenix is a very tough track to drive out of turns 2, out of turns 4, especially when it's really hot on the track. In tonight's case, it's 108 degrees. It can get awfully loose. We have 39 cars in this field. I believe 37 on track right now. The air gets really turbulent, and things get very tough. And you see, there's not a lot of room on this racetrack. I don't know if you're seeing this, but 2 and 3 wide happens in a hurry. And when people cut the dog leg, the problem with that is you may not see the driver that's on track as you're coming back onto the track, and that can always lead to a collision, which nobody likes to see. We've already had 2 cautions in this one car just sideways, and then the other was several cars getting turned around on the front stretch, which caused a pileup in the back of the field. But so far, so good, where everything's going green right now. Kenny Capola leads the way, followed by Brandon Bakey in the number 1 Toyota. Alex Kofi in the 15. So 3 Toyotas lead the way. A single Ford in the top 5. And 5th is Toyota as well. After that, 6th and 9th is Chevrolets. And then the 10th of Hunter Carmichael. All right, 10th place is Hunter Carmichael. And number 3, Ford. And so 2 Fords in the top 10. 4 Chevrolets. 5 Toyotas. And so pretty even field as far as manufacturers goes. You're looking at the number 43, the number 4 Jordan Schmitz. He's getting by the 43. The 43 is not a that's not a battle for position right there. And the caution number 3 is out here in Phoenix. Chad Sullivan, Jared Clark, Matt Mackin involved. Sorry, Sydney, go ahead.
The thing that I really do love about the dogleg, though, is you mentioned you can only really stay 3 or 4 wide on 2, 3 wide on the track. When you get into that dogleg, man, people go 5 wide quite easily. It's pretty fun to watch. I can't lie, and it's fun to drive. That dogleg is fun to drive, but that last turn going onto the back stretch, it is not fun. It's really quite difficult at times. I don't know if it might be different nowadays with the next gen car. I was mainly driving it a lot with the old Cup car with the good old 4-speed manual transmission, but maybe it drives a bit nicer with this new next gen car. I'll have to pop in and give it a try one day.
Take one more look at that replay, John. That was pretty interesting there with Chad Sullivan, the way that he went in there. As we're going to keep an eye right here on Sullivan in the 21. Oh, just goes sideways right into the 69. That's definitely not going to make anybody happy here. As we get back and ready to rock and roll again. Not too many of these drivers coming down pit road this time around. In fact, it looks like about the top 21 all staying out. So, all things considered, we're just under halfway through stage number 1. I think we're going to start to see some of these guys back off, as I can tell race radio going to be chattering a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, 3 cautions and 20 laps is not what anybody wants to see. But you got to remember, it's 108 degrees on track. It's a very narrow track that drivers are just forced to be wider by going below that yellow line. And it gets hard to see drivers when they're below the yellow line coming back on the track. So you might just be coming out of the corner, clear air. Next thing you know, your nose is totally cut off by a guy who he didn't know you were there. Your on-car spotter didn't know he was there because he wasn't on the track. So Phoenix is a heads-up kind of racetrack. You've really got to be on your P's and Q's to get around here.
Well, and to your point, 108 degrees, that not only is it hot in the car for the driver, but they are going to be slip sliding around here. It's going to loosen that rear end of the car up. And in these next-gen cars, as soon as you start to have that rear end step out on you, it's almost impossible to try to corral that thing and get back under control. And at a place like this, with as much room as there is in the dogleg section of the track, it's almost like trying to herd squirrels going into turn 1.
In a sense, it sure is. And Dave, we're being corrected by the great viewers in the chat. For Brandon Bikey, it's pronounced Bikey, not Becky or whatever I was saying. I apologize. And Kenny is Kenny Copila. Copila, not Coppola. So getting that wrong. Sorry about that, folks. We will get it right as we sort it out. But we're working on it, and we appreciate you guys for letting us know. And Brandon, thanks for calling us out on that while you're driving. Pretty impressive to text and drive and be in second. So excellent job for you. As the cars are going to get 2x2 here, and I think we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing.
this is going to be quite chaotic.
That's one way to put it. These drivers, when you're trying to get yourselves, lined back up here, the hardest thing is once the iRacing.com pace card disappears, everything now lays on Kenny Copila's lap in the driver's seat. One false move of the throttle pedal, even if he's just got a little itch there on his foot, that can affect the race by giving you an accidental black flag. Or worse, for Brandon Bikey sitting on his outside, all it takes is one flinch because you don't have that reference car in front of you to try to match yourself up with. I mean, even at pit speed, the pace car is down pit road and you're kind of left out here to your own devices as we work our way into turns number 3 and 4, passing the O'Reilly Auto Parts banner on the inside. We hit the Geico restart zone and we are back underway as Kenny Copila hits the loud pedal nice and solid. They go 3 wide behind him. Now looking to the inside, that's going to be Chris Davis here in the 29 Toyota Camry as he's holding his own just underneath Alex Coffey. We can see Coffey here getting ready. He's considering whether or not to try to split Brandon Bikey or to stay in his lane, and I think for right now we're going to see him stay right there.
I don't see any reason why to make an unnecessary move at this point at lap 23. We're only 10% in on this race. Plenty of racing to go. As you're going to see that 24 scheme right there for the 24 of Nick King. He's going to make it 3 wide, trying to take that 6th place position away from Shane Davis. It's not quite going to work for him. And, that kind of makes me wonder, is it always advantageous to go below that yellow line to get around the track better? Or is it ultimately better on the iRacing server to stay on the track and keep your momentum up that way?
In these next-gen cars, to go down there onto the apron isn't that big of a deal. I mean, the independent suspension on the next-gen cars can take that transition between apron and racing surface a lot better than the solid axles, of course, of the Xfinity or the trucks. So if you're in an Xfinity car or a Craftsman truck, I mean, once you come from the apron back up onto the racing surface, you stand the risk of really upsetting that truck or car and losing control. Where here, you can see it's very graceful as they come back up. This is a perfect camera angle to see that with, as everybody just kind of gracefully gets themselves back up here. It's not that dramatic of a change.
I will say that the amount of time that you gain by taking that dog leg is really, I found it to be minuscule at points, and I found that it was honestly quite easier to, take the long way around than try and take that shortcut. I found, I found you could gun it through the dog leg a bit more, but maybe the momentum you carry through the actual turn was, it kind of evened out at the end of the turn, which is why you have people, 5 wide running into each other as they come out of the dog leg, because it's not really that much of a gain.
I guess we'll have to agree to disagree. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of it, but when everybody else is doing it, you almost don't have a choice but to take that because it is a shorter way around the track, and you sometimes just got to follow the footsteps of the other drivers. Kenny Copila is out front now, 1 second over Alex Coffey in the number 15 Toyota. So those drivers both are in the 27 second lap time brackets. Copila just a little bit faster last time around than Coffey, but those two guys I think are going to be the drivers to beat. Bikey, of course, in the consideration as well. And Matt Cox, Chris Davis going to round out your top 5. Let's take our attention back to more towards the back where the racing isn't any worse. John Binder, the number 33 driver, is another Chevrolet. He's up 10 positions as he's looking to the inside of the number 10 of Warren Young. And just in front of them, Justin Belmonte and Chris Spear are battling for the 21st position. And so what's really great when you have these 39 car fields is that there's always going to be something going on. And it really does pay to have a top 15 day in these fields. You don't have to hang your head on a top 15. In some leagues, if it's 20 cars, being 15th isn't really, it's frowned upon. You want to be in the top half of the field. But here, top 15 is a good run. Top 10 is better. Top 5 is excellent. And the ultimate goal is to win the race. But you're seeing...
and something...
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You know, something that we see a lot here, especially in the next gen cars, which I don't even know if we can call them next gens anymore. Right now, it's just the Cup cars, but something that we see here in the Cup cars in many of our races, whether in the public servers or here in the leagues, you know, a lot of times we'll start to see these Cup cars go single file and it gets all strung out. But, you know, right now, being able to see side-by-side action is exciting. I mean, you know, we see a lot more side-by-side action. Even here from the cockpit of Warren Young in the number 10, we can see him holding his own here. And, I mean, you know, nobody's really afraid, at least in this league, you know, to go side-by-side. There are some leagues that we watch, you know, that I know Warren Young has been in as he actually came from SNN as well once upon a time. But, you know, where we see some of these drivers just go single file, we'll deal with this one at a time.
Yeah, you know, you got to get the racing through at some point here, and it is starting to single file out. That happened rather quickly. In the back, 21st through, say, 27th, you still got some racing going on, but now these guys are getting spread out by about 0.3 of a second through the top 15, and a little bit further in some places. Got a bit of a battle right here for 28th. Nicholas Atwood's going to come down to the dog leg and try to get by Paul Whitney in that 74 in front of him, but just doesn't seem to carry the momentum. I feel like if you want to race this track with momentum, the dog leg hurts you. But if your opponent is Nicholas Atwood and ends up in the wall right there, if they give you, and there's a big gaggle in front of him, a big checkup right there, I think from number 12 of Matt Campbell, almost contact on the inside there with the number 6 machine of Justin Belmonte, and trying to get back to where I was, but the racing is getting exciting right here with these four.
Yeah, these four drivers are going to be going at it all night. I mean, you know, whether you're battling it out for the lead or you're battling it out for 21st, every point matters in this race. You know, I can't stress enough that, they do make contact. The 6 just up against the side of Darren Mullins in the 64. So Belmonte obviously wants to see if he can use that car as a battering ram to get through the front stretch here. You know, every point
they're going to
matters
touch
no matter.
again. Maybe it's a little net code right there. They're going to hang on to it. But wow, that was really tight for the 54 or 64 of Darren Mullins.
Just as an explanation for the folks at home, I mean, you know, what John means by netcode is that's iRacing trying to assume that something's going to happen, whether it's happened yet or not.
Yeah, and when it assumes something's going to happen, it does exactly what happens when you assume things. I don't have a better...
I think that's part of the 7 words that I'm not allowed to say on the air.
Correct. But I don't know of a better way to explain that other than that. So we'll go back up to the front here. Coppola in the number 77 Toyota, you know, he's stepped out to almost 2 seconds now over Alex Coffey. Matt Cox is about 1.5 seconds behind him. Chris Davis another second, and then about 0.5 seconds back to Shane Davis. Gets a little bit closer with Shane Davis and Brandon Bikey, Randy Mullins, and Hunter Carmichael. 5th to 8th are separated by less than a second. So we very well could see some contest right there. Got to keep in mind that we're 6 laps away from the stage break. And so drivers are going to be jockeying for position at this time, but everybody's chasing the number 77.
Yeah, Sydney, I mean, if you take a look here at Kenny Coppola, I mean, if we go back up there, I mean, Coppola's out here on lap 39, just kind of out for a Wednesday night drive. He's definitely not fighting the hump day blues, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's quite out there. He's got quite a large lead on those guys. Good driving.
So we can move our attention back here towards the 24 of Nick King in the 10th place position, under siege by the 17 of Christensen. Just in front of them is Tim Wortman Jr. And this is right around, not sure what we're going to see here. We got 5 laps. Christensen's been a little bit faster each time, but hasn't been able to get by Nick King as of yet. It's allowing the number 4, Jordan Schmitz, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, since I'm just taking my best guess at it. He's up 13 positions.
Don't get gun shy now.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get gun shy. I've been doing this for a while. We really should start requesting, rosters with pronunciation for these guys. That would help us a little bit. But we don't do that, so maybe we should
I
add
like
that.
to fly without a net.
I'm
Yeah,
noticing
well,
that Kenny is he's very lightly clipping the dog leg. He's just kind of going over the yellow line and just arcing through it quite lightly, and I think that might be oh, caution.
yeah, caution out as you're talking about him just kind of getting down there to the line. There's a great battle heating up between Nick King and Nigel Christensen. I'm showing Warren Young had trouble. We're gonna go on down. He's try to see what happened right here for the number 10 machine.
I can almost guarantee what's about to happen. Warren's going to get, whoa, I was going to say tight. As we get deeper into a tire run here, these cars get all kinds of ridiculously tight, and a lot of times you nearly kiss the wall coming out of Ford, just as Warren does.
Well, in that case, he had Blaine Woodruff in the way in the 71 Pink Monster Ford Mustang, and they get together, and it looks a little bit like some netcode kind of helped make that worse. It seemed like they bounced off each other once, then bounced off each other again, which caused that left turn tendency. But it's pit stop time, and I believe that's going to be the end of stage 1. I believe. 'Cause we'll get back to racing in about probably coming to lap 46.
Then it's boogity cubed.
So that being said, Dave, let's dial one of these guys up after pit stops and get some insight on what's happening out there on the track. I'm curious to know what it's driving or how it's driving. I'll let you take the pick of the litter and see as Copila is going to be first on, first off. Looks like the 32 of Matt Cox will be second off pit road. Behind him, Chris Davis and Randy Mullins and Hunter Carmichael. Be your top 5 rolling off. And so Sydney, what's about to happen here is we're going to pull one of these drivers in and do a quick in-race interview and hear from them the perspective of what's going on out here on Phoenix with this hot, slick racetrack.
Yeah, I'd love to hear their perspective on it. I don't know how the next gen drives too well, so I'd like to see what they're saying. My favorite car to drive on this track is the 87 Monte Carlos. It's hard as hell, but it is really quite rewarding.
Well, that's a for sure a driver's type of vehicle. As the pace lights are still on. Let's see, I don't think Dave has managed to find anybody yet.
I do not have the ability to move, folks.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and bring Randy Mullins in. So,
thank goodness we were on the same page.
So Randy Mullins is now joining us live with you, Dave. If you'd go ahead and start that this process. Randy, welcome to the booth, and good job so far running fourth.
Hey, Randy, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, man, listen, we've been following you all night long. How's traffic down there? It seems like you're almost just ahead of the Hornet's Nest, but, working lap 45 now, I mean, it's got to be a little tough down there.
It is. It is. Restarts are very crucial, so you got to make sure you get a good one. Cold tires, you get down on that apron down there in the dog leg, she's liable to come around. So you just got to be mindful of it, but at the same time, you can't lose no track position because, like you said, I'm right in front of the Hornet's Nest, and I need to stay here.
Absolutely. Fun fact, though, as you're from Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, I'm from Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania originally, and we had a running joke years ago. We had gone down as a group from the fire department and met the chief of your fire department down there and exchanged shirts and patches. But so it's kind of coincidental that that's who John will pull up here first.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But no, listen, good luck the rest of the way and try to stay out of that out of the heat there. As it looks like the pace car is going to pull off here. And of course, we'll see you perhaps on the other side.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And Randy,
cubed.
you're
Let's
part
go
of
racing.
Ram Motorsports, correct? I apologize.
Correct.
Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Boogity boo.
All right, so drivers coming down across the restart zone right here into turn. Well, it's really kind of like an extra turn here, as drivers are gonna fan out into turn number 1. Kenny Copila is gonna lead the way. Drivers behind him are too wide through the field. Nick King trying to make the outside lane work. Almost going to go 3 wide. Thinks better of it as we're on lap 47. So side-by-side action, you've got to get your positions now while you can. And because we saw after about 15 laps, the drivers spread out about 0.3 seconds apiece. So this is the time to get as many positions as possible. As you see, the 54 of Randy Mullins, we were just talking to him. He's working on Chris Davis. It's going to be a little bit of contact side by side through the corner. They're going to hang on to it down the front stretch. Advantage Mullins into turn 1.
Mullins has a really good entry here, but, you know, Davis is able to use a lot more of the racetrack. Oh, as he gives him a little shove and gets him out of the way. This is one of those racetracks where you need to be able to use the full width of the racetrack to keep your momentum and your speed as high as possible. You know, if you get trapped down on the low side, you're going to wind up with great entry, but always being beaten on exit. Where if you're on the high side, you can use a little bit more of a slingshot action and kind of, you know, get out there closer to the wall and then dive back in. So, you know, if you're, of course, you know, Kenny Coppola leading this race, he's able to use the whole racetrack, and all it does is continues to build his lead as he's already up to 2.4 seconds now over the field.
I just wanted to say how like within the first lap, it looked like he had like a half-second gap on everyone else. Like he absolutely gunned it through that first lap. That was incredible to watch.
Well, it's all about the restart and momentum here. And when you're not getting checked up from the cars in front of you, that's the one real advantage that the leader has. They don't have to deal with the checkup of the cars in front of them. And that's how you can sometimes shoot out to about a half-second lead immediately. And when you're the button holder, you know when you're going to go. The rest of the field doesn't. Sometimes you catch the field sleeping. And I'm not going to say that's what happened here, because Matt Cox, Randy Mullins, and Christensen and Davis, all those guys were on it. And they were 3 wide, 2 wide, trying to get each other for position. That also, I think, allowed him to step away. So we're lap 52 of 200. We're going to take a quarter break right here. And your SRM crew, my name's Jonathan Leach, Dave Regal. We'll be right back. You won't miss any of the action as we'll be going side by side. See you in a few moments.
Welcome back to Phoenix International Speedway, where right now Kenny Coppola is pacing the field with about 0.6 of a second lead over Matt Cox here in the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series. Live right here on Sim Racing Media. Dave Regal, Jonathan Leach, and Sydney Cook in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth with you tonight as we bring you all of the action from flag to flag. And I'll tell you what, Sydney, this has been an exciting race. I mean, a few cautions have come out and kind of hindered a little bit of what we've seen tonight, but so far, really good action.
Yeah, I agree. These guys are going at it. 3-5 wide in the dog-legged points. Like they're not really giving any give or take at all. No give and take. It's all just take.
For right now, yeah, as we take a look here at Tim Wertman Jr. in the 83, he's currently just ahead of Barry Sanders, of course, chief cook and bottle washer here in the Moonshiners Racing League. And I'll tell you what, Barry Sanders always trying to, make his other drivers better. I mean, sometimes you see a race league owner such as Barry, they're always up front. They're not really, in the mix. They don't get to see a whole lot of what's going on around them. And as I had mentioned earlier, these next-gen cars or these Cup Series cars have a tendency to start going single file, and we're starting to see that as they're starting to get more strung out than the line at, never mind.
Well, I mean, again, we got a 38, 39 car field here. Things are going to happen, and Caden Norfree is down off the racing surface, not going down pit road. I'm thinking he must have gotten out of whack and ended up under the racing line as he's trying to come back up to speed as 20 Toyota. He's back now in the 28th position. You see the 12 of Matt Campbell going by, and that's going to put him a lap down. Also, Brandon Bikey, he pitted lap 44. I think he might have had to... I'm not sure. I'm showing lap 44, but an odd pit time. Maybe there's a penalty there for Bikey, and that's why he is now back in the 19th position. I don't have that information. His car looks clean, so I'm thinking perhaps there was some trouble on pit road.
Looks like he came down for 12.8 seconds last time by, so that may have actually been a missed fuel opportunity or a missed tire opportunity.
Very well could be. There's a battle up front. This is for P2 between Matt Cox and Randy Mullins. Mullins, of course, we just talked to on stage 1. Strong cars staying in front of the Wasp's Nest as he's going to get around Matt Cox with ease. I think Matt Cox kind of just gave him that position personally.
I gotta say, I do love that Dodge Viper looking paint scheme on the one car. That is mint.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers spend a lot of time getting their paint schemes just right. And, it's really nice when we're able to showcase that here.
When I was a kid, I probably spent more time in the NASCAR Racing 3 paint booth than I did on the track.
Well, painting's a big part of the iRacing area, and there's no lack of great paint schemes nowadays, and we're really starting to see that in these leagues, and they're getting drivers that want to paint for the league, and you're getting league custom paint schemes, which is awfully cool, especially when you get into custom banners for your drivers in the playoffs. As you've got 3 wide right there, Justin Belmonte, the inside of Nick King and Aaron Matthews. Got himself a 2 for a second ago, getting by them. You see Nick King, a little bit of a blink right there, but still on track. So iRacing paints are getting awfully in-depth, Dave, and I know you've seen some outstanding paints in the numerous series that you cover for us week in and week out, and this one doesn't lack by any means.
No, I get to see a little bit of everything when it comes to paint schemes. I mean, everything from throwback schemes from the 70s, which was when this was still a very southeastern United States regional sport, all the way up to replicas of today's paint schemes, as well as so many custom paint schemes and things like that, because a lot of these drivers, the advertisements and the sponsorships that you see on the hoods, fenders, and everywhere else on the cars, those are real. You know, those are people that have those sponsorships that allow them the time and the finances to be able to do what we do. Such as, if you take a look there at the 88 of Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders has RS button boxes, and a couple of years ago, RS button boxes came out of basically nowhere, and now they make probably some of the coolest sim equipment, you know, in our little universe here. There it is, the RS button boxes paint scheme. You know, I mean, for me, I use a Stream Deck, but the RS button box gives a real feel to what you're able to do with, you know, customizable push buttons and things like that you can control your car with.
And you know, and I think that's a really excellent point when it comes to iRacing, and you're starting to see drivers with more sponsors. Leagues are getting bigger sponsors as the as what this is getting out there more. You know, broadcasting's getting better. There's ourselves, we have our competitors. Overall, larger organizations do a much better job at putting drivers, their sponsors, and league sponsors on air. We're bringing more fans and family members of the drivers are getting in on this, and that's opening the door a little bit for different opportunities in the virtual space. And it's really exciting to be a part of that, like we get to do week in and week out. But let's turn our attention back to the race. John Binder in 16th is slowly charging to the front. He's tied for highest mover with Derek Pemberton. Both drivers are up 18 positions on the evening. Aaron Matthews and Jordan Schmitz, drivers in the 11th and in 8th, are up 17 spots. So we got a couple large movers, and we do have a couple drivers that are going backwards. Alex Coffey is one of those drivers that has gone backwards. He had a 51.67 pit stop, which leads me to believe he served a penalty. He is still on the lead lap. He's currently in 25th. I don't think we've seen the end of him. And, of course, we're approaching stage 2 in 15 laps. I think he'll be back up there, and we'll be contending for this one before the end of it.
If Alex Coffey is anything like the great Barrett Coffey who used to race in this league, we have not seen the end of him yet. I mean, you know, he may be down 22 positions after, you know, being on the inside of row number 2 to start off. You know, he's going to be patient. He's going to work through this, you know, and just right there, ooh, a little kiss of the wall. You know, just right there as he comes through that front stretch and makes that transition, he's holding that car nice and steady. That's a patient driver waiting for the opportunities to come to him rather than chase down and drive offensively. You know, one of the secrets that I see with these Cup cars is that you can't drive them offensively. You can drive them defensively, though. You know, you can watch your rearview mirror. You're going to be driving, looking out that rear end and holding your position. And when someone in front of you makes a mistake, that's when you can pounce. These are not battering rams.
And these are much more precision-based. This is a much more precision-based car than the next-gen car, or the trucks, or even the Xfinity cars. I would say, in my opinion, I'm not very experienced in the Xfinity car, so somebody might disagree with me. I've heard that it's harder to drive than the trucks and the next-gen car. It is indeed. But yeah, I'm not very familiar on that. So let's talk for a moment here. Johnny Shade's a driver who is slowly moving forward. You know, he got turned earlier, and he's back up to 14th. Nick King is going backwards, but he's still up 4 positions on his race. He's been passed a couple times. He's under siege now by Jeff Taylor and John Bender. And of course, Bender trying to increase his position. Derek Pemberton, since we last talked about him, is up 2 more spots. He's now in 19th in that number 82 machine. Really awesome paint scheme, too, if you ask me. I can't get a great view on it, but I just like the colors. It pops. It looks like one of those watermelon candies, almost, is the scheme on there. Let's see if I can't...
It's actually the Mountain Dew watermelon. It's the melon something or other, and it's delicious. I wish it came in a 0 sugar flavor, but it doesn't. But actually, our very own Emily Urias had brought a bunch of that down to Miami last year.
Someone please ship me some in Canada. I did not know that existed. I need it.
You don't get a lot of that good stuff in Canada, do y'all? Everything is just bottled up and shipped away, and you guys are all about ginger ale, not Mountain Dew.
Yeah, there's like I've seen maybe 2 flavors of Mountain Dew in my entire living existence, man.
Yeah, Canada's kind of like a loft apartment above a really great party down here.
I
You know, I
mean,
mean,
that's not
Oh,
y'all
I can't
y'all
true.
wait to
call
join the
that
party.
that is true. I mean, they put ketchup on their macaroni and cheese. They call it craft dinner instead of mac and cheese.
I'm sick of this country. It is cold. Actually, we had a mild winter this winter, but I can't live in a place where the air hurts my face.
Well, then might be a good time to get a visa and come on down to the great U.S. of A. And Michigan seems to be a pretty good spot. I'm in northern Michigan. Winter was light. I'm not sure where you are in Canada. Not really too worried about it, but it
Toronto.
wasn't easy. Toronto,
I'm in the
okay.
big city.
It wasn't easier winter this year overall for
Yeah.
everybody. I don't think that tune's gonna stay the same for too much longer. I saw some. We're getting into some weather. I'm being a weather weeb here. The El Nino is starting to form instead of the La Nina, which has been
Yeah.
hurting the winter. So I think we're gonna see something change next year or the year after that. But it's worth noting that there's been a lot more La Ninas. Maybe I'm not gonna say it. You know,
You forgot the nya on top of the N. It's
you're
a El Niña.
all right. You're right. I'm not gonna go that far, Dave. Yeah, I'll let you do
Well,
that.
like a guy named Glenn ordering a taco from Tacos in Taco. I'm just breaking your stones.
Tacos sound really good right about now.
They do.
Matt
Speaking of
Handler, the
tacos,
sole Canadian in this race, has been in 17th position for a while now. Come on, pick it up, man. Give her, bud.
so when you say that you're from the big city up in Canada, I assume that you mean Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto. It's quite a
Ah, go
lovely
Maple
place.
Leafs. How are things without the Stanley Cup up there?
Honestly, I have no clue. The only sport I care about is good old Louisville racing.
Well, at least we can
Okay,
agree
then.
on that.
Yeah, honestly, I know nothing about hockey at all. Genuinely.
It's almost
I thought that
sacrilegious.
I was gonna say I thought that you guys were born up there with like a hockey puck in your mouth.
No, like I used to play some street hockey when I was a kid. I've never played ice hockey. No, I got into music, man. Didn't have time for skating around.
Well, we need to turn our attention back to the lead here as Randy
Yeah, that's what
Mullins
I'm
has
saying.
caught Kenny Copila. And this is now a 0.2 of a second battle between the 77 and the 54. Of course, they both pitted
Oh,
lap
one's blinking.
43. Now, we've seen this before.
Oh, they're blinking.
We've seen this before. And that's the fact that, Copila, excuse me, guys. I'm going to get that right by next week for sure. He's really quick, short runs, fades a little bit on the longer runs, and perhaps that's what's going on here. But I think he might just be saving. He's a little slower this time around. I think he's just saving some tires. But Randy Mullins has been getting explosively better on this race and getting faster and faster, and he's really doing a great job holding consistent laps. He's doing the same thing each time, every time around the track. Same thing with the 77, as you see him now side by side on lap 87. So this is a battle for the stage. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Mullins or is it going to be Copila? We'll find out in about 2.5 laps, as they're still side by side. Now they're not. Copila is going to be just in front of Mullins, going to hold him off. This seems really slow. It seems like a slow-paced, respectful battle.
Well,
Yeah.
and this is probably the most challenge that Copila has had to face all night long, as Randy Mullins now looks to the inside of Copila. It's for starters. I mean, you may start to see some of those speeds, die down right now coming out of turn 2. They're only up to about 145, 150 miles per hour going down into turn 3 and 4. I mean, they're basically going to be fighting tight race cars, so they're really not trying to do any damage. As we see Copila kiss the wall
Ooh.
coming out of 4, that opens the door for Randy Mullins to slide in front of him and take the lead here on lap number 89. Now it's Mullins' stage to lose, as Mullins leads Kenny Copila out of turn 2 and down the back chute.
I did not see that coming.
Neither
Well-
did Kenny Copila.
Well, this is why we race. We don't just show up and flip a coin. You never know what's going to happen on the racing surfaces. We're going to cross the start-finish line for lap 90 here. Matt Cox is in the third place position. Hunter Carmichael. I believe they're going to come back around, let the rest of the field cross the line, and then we're going to see that yellow flag wave as Mullins is still putting down some pretty solid laps.
The stage ends at the conclusion of lap number 90, so we're going to see Randy Mullins leading Kenny Capilla out of turn 3 and 4. He gets to the cactus, crosses the start-finish line, and Randy Mullins, your Stage 2 winner, followed by Kenny Capilla, Matt Cox, Hunter Carmichael, Paul Gallimore, Nigel Christensen, Chris Davis, Tim Wortman Jr., Aaron Matthews, and Barry Sanders has crept his way into the top 10. Those drivers are going to be receiving bonus points, of course, for the stage finish. So a great end of the stage as Randy Mullins brings home the green and white checkered flag.
And so it's also worth mentioning almost 47 laps on those tires. And when you're talking about that tight condition, they're certainly facing that. These guys are going to come down pit road. We're certainly going to try to dial up at least one of them, possibly two of them. I'd like to talk to Alex Coffey if we get an opportunity, or Brandon Bikey, as to see what their strategy is going to be to get back to the front of the next 110 laps. There should be at least two pit stop opportunities as drivers are now coming down pit road. I expect everybody to pit. And, we're almost to the second half of this race. It's been 52.5 minutes of racing, handful of cautions, but really this last run has been mostly green and excellent for stage 2.
Quite a long pit road. This is going to be quite nice to see. I'm excited to see these guys stack it up again.
And so we don't want to see any mistakes on pit road. We know that happened with a couple drivers already, and that's how they ended up in the back. Everybody seemed to be on pit road clean. I don't have an indication that tells me who was speeding and who was not speeding, so we won't know about that until after the fact. Brandon Bikey into his pit stall. Randy Mullins coming out of his pit stall is going to win the race off pit road, followed by Copila and Matt Cox, Hunter Carmichael, Paul Gallimore, and Nigel Christensen. The 17's got some people rooting for him. And in this case, I think we're going to try to pull in Alex Coffey, who is on pit road, possibly repairing some damage. So we'll let him continue to do that. Instead, I'm going to go look for the number 17 driver of Nigel Christensen. Dave, this will be with you once again. Joining us in the booth now, Dave, is Nigel Christensen, driver of the number 17. Nigel, how are you doing out there?
Good. How are you?
Doing
Nigel, listen.
Pretty well. Go ahead, Dave.
Nigel, listen, you've crawled your way up from 10th into 6th position. What are you thinking as far as, now going into stage 3, we've got just a few, just under 110 laps to go. What say you from Cedar Rapids, Iowa?
Just got to save tire. You just kind of ride around where you're at. So, I need to do a better job saving, if I want to have a chance at this. But yeah, just got to save tire, got to prepare for the long run. And, really it's just like real life. You kind of run where you are. So, just got to take good care of the tires.
Yeah, tires definitely seem to be playing a major factor in tonight's race. Even Kenny Capilla, who was leading this race for basically from the moment that the green flag waved, was challenged by Randy Mullins. Did you see any weakness there in Capilla, or is this now a matter of just trying to outlive him on tires?
Man, he was so far ahead. I have no idea what was going on with him, but I'm assuming the car just got ill after about 30 laps or 40 laps in, and that was just where Mullins beat him on the long run.
Without a doubt. All right, man. Well, listen, good luck the rest of the way, and go ahead and try to bring one home to Cedar Rapids.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to rack them, stack them, get ready for stage number 3. It's going to be quite the race to get to the end here. I think we'll see 2 more pit stops. I don't know if they'll be under caution or if they'll be under green. I'll tell you what, green flag pit stops would be quite the sight as that pace car turns down pit road. And Dave, you mentioned it earlier. It's a long drive with Randy Mullins as the control car down to the restart zone. It's reminiscent of Talladega, except obviously much flatter, much shorter. So Randy Mullins will now be the control car. Copila is going to be on the outside, not the control car. On the throttle is Mullins. And wanted to say he caught the field sleeping, but Copila seemed to have a pretty good jump on him. Going to cut down there under the yellow line. Randy Mullins off to a 0.3 of a second lead into turn 1.
Well, and as I had mentioned earlier, and you can attest to this. I mean, right now Mullins has the ability to use the entire racing surface to keep his momentum going in the upward direction. Even as Barry Sanders in the 88 catches.
Wow. How does that stay there? That's still green. They're still racing.
My goodness.
What a save.
Wow, a lot of drivers didn't. They all thought the caution was coming out. There's a huge slow up in the field. It stays green out there. And, and now everything's real congested and stacked up. This might not be done yet.
That's going to shake things up a bit.
Yeah, you're definitely right, Sydney. I mean, we saw the whole field stack itself up. And, I mean, quite frankly, that's probably what saved us from going to a caution.
Yeah, that was some good wreck avoidance by those drivers there. It is not easy to navigate those situations.
So following now the number 1, Brandon Bikey, as he's trying to claw his way back through the field in that number 1 Toyota. He's up to 16th. Paul Whitley is now in front of him. So Bikey's down 10 spots since the start of this one. We know he has speed. We saw him running in 2nd and 3rd. But once you get stuck in the field, it's hard to pass at Phoenix. Your best opportunity is on these restarts, or wait for it to single file and hope you did really good on saving your tires. Wait for a mistake in front of you, as you mentioned before, Dave, and just slowly claw your way back through the field. Back in 23rd, Alex Coffey is still out there. He's running. He did some extra pitting, so perhaps that machine does have some damage that we didn't see, as Nick King is going to be into the outside wall. No caution on lap 124 with a hard hit. And he's just going to have to nurse that car and just keep on racing.
Yeah, that was quite a hard lick. He hit that wall twice.
And I think maybe Derek Pemberton had a piece of something there. And maybe even Dean Motley, but I couldn't say for sure. But another wreck that almost could have been, and it just ends up being bad for one driver. That driver, of course, being the 24 Nick King, who's looks like he's going to come down pit road just in front of him. I'm not sure. So Nick King and Jared Clark, Hayden Norfree. Kyle Holden is who I'm looking for, is in front of him, the number 59. Tough break for the 59. He's got people rooting for him. Tracy Holden, of course, rooting for him. And now he's on pit road for what would be an unscheduled pit stop.
Yeah, you can see that front left of the 59 a little askew from the rest of the car, so obviously he's got some frame damage there. So hopefully they can beat that thing together. As we take a look here at Alex Coffey in the 15, Alex Coffey on his recovery drive now up into the 20th position. So he's definitely working his way back up through the field, and to your point, I mean, he's gotten to the point, at least at this stage in the race, where he's got those fresh tires. He might as well cook them while he can. It's kind of a smoke if you got a moment, as he's now going to put Justin Belmonte in the 6 in the crosshairs, as he's got, about 3/4 of a second to get there.
And all while we're talking about him, you got a gaggle of machines back here around the 17th and 18th position. And also back to the front, Copila managed to get around Randy Mullins while we were watching the chaos back in the Hornet's Nest. I'm going to try to show you that pass. It might be a little bit difficult to find right here. We're going to go back to it and see a few laps ago. Looks like a little loose act right there for Randy Mullins with Copila right behind him. He's going to make the left turn down out of turn number 4, side by side down the front stretch. He's going to complete the pass here. you know, right there by the O'Reilly restart zone. And that's going to be how the lead change occurred. Of course, Randy
How
Mullen's
effective?
not going away too easy. He's right there within a half second under siege from Matt Cox. But top 5, top 4, all within 1 second of each other.
How effective do you guys think that side drafting is at this track? Because even though it's a mile and a half, it drives really like a short track in my experience.
I think the speeds here are plenty fast enough for side drafting at 150 miles an hour. You get on the outside of one of these cars, it will slow it down. But the difference is, you know, the second you do that, you're already getting back on the throttle coming out of the corner by the time you can make that happen. So I think what you're going to see more is a tightness than over a slowdown. But if you get side by side with somebody, you're absolutely going to take the air off that vehicle and make it more difficult to drive.
Got you.
Back here for 12th, you got a battle. Jeff Taylor, the number 13, Johnny Shade. That's for 11th and 12th. Both drivers up 4 and 6 positions since the start of this one. Right behind them, the number 4, Jordan Schmitz, up 12 positions on the start of this one. And our current largest mover, Aaron Matthews, has creeped into the 6th place position in that number 5 Ford Mustang. It looks like he's got an AA, is that SM paint scheme.
That is correct.
For Aaron Matthews. So slowly and methodically creeping through the field here on lap 110. His best lap was a 28:08. So he's about a couple tenths slower than the top 4 for the best lap time. But right now he's putting the best laps down on track.
Well, and that's the, you know, when you can say that somebody is slowly creeping through the field, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. You know, that's somebody who's being patient, waiting for those opportunities to come to them. You know, where you look up at the timing and scoring, you're like, hey, where did Aaron Matthews come from? That's where he came from. He came from, I'm sitting here, I'm waiting for somebody else to make the mistake. I had a good pit stop back on 92. You know, in fact, if you could, why don't you pull up that pit strategy there in the yellow menu? We're going to see everybody here as that comes up on the same pit cycle. Everybody came in on, you know, on schedule here in the top 5, and Aaron Matthews just about to be on that top 5 list as he's working his way toward Nigel Christensen, hauling it down the back chute. In fact, swap on over there to the time delta.
I think he's kind of overdriving it a bit, trying to catch him.
Yeah, if you look here at the time delta, Aaron Matthews has consistently been putting a gap between himself and, of course, you know, just behind him. Now we take a look here at Christensen over Aaron Matthews, and Christensen, that gap is starting to shrink ever so gently as Matthews is, you know, creeping in to take 5th position away.
And so it's worth noting right here, you know, it's methodical, and that's what I like. This is a driver for Aaron Matthews, of course, getting better as the race goes on. And, you know, and that's a driver's driver. And so I want to take that back. Let's go back to Alex Coffey. He's up to 19th. He's working on 18th, so he's taking an ill-handling car that must have some kind of trouble. And he's trying to salvage a top 15 or better out of it. And remember, 39 cars, top 15 is good. And so I really like it when you're, you know, a driver's driver, you're taking a struggling car and you make something out of it. As you just saw the 10, Warren Young kiss the wall right there. And you also got drivers on the inside of him. I think he's just trying to stay out of the way. He is not racing these guys for position. He's lapped down, just trying to stay out of the way for them. So back up to Aaron Matthews. He still hasn't quite completed the pass, but he's trying to get it done.
Yeah, I'm noticing he's been trying for quite a few minutes. I don't know if he's going to get there. Making a look to the outside. Yeah, he just can't get around him.
Well, there's plenty of time left to decide whether or not, or for him to figure it out. See, look at this right here. He's going to get into the corner. Big run here. He's going to close that gap. He gets the momentum out of this corner and out of the next corner. He'll be right there again. A little faster in the dog leg. You can see that gap close now to 0.2 of a second. And it just sort of depends. If you overdrive the corner, you might lose a little bit to him on exit, but he is by no means out of this competition. So further back here, around 13th, Stephen Gibson and Toyota locked in battle with Jeff Taylor. Barry Sanders is right behind them as well, and Matt Campbell. So the action's been in the 10th to about 15th area for the last 5 laps or so, aside from the battle for 6th, fifth between Nigel Christensen and Aaron Matthews. So Jeff Taylor here, Matt Campbell side by side. This is for 15th.
I'm rooting for my boy Matt Campbell, my Canadian comrade. I hope he pulls it together and gets some more position out of here.
Comrade, oh no, a red wave as we take a peek here at Matt Campbell. He's getting ready here to work. Red. He's getting ready to work just underneath now the 23 of Jeff Taylor. And Taylor basically matching him step for step. It seems like everywhere Taylor goes, Campbell is too. And they just, one of them is going to have to break the racing line. And I'm afraid that, it's going to be a while before that car gets tight, as a little bobble out of Campbell coming out of 2 and down the back chute will put a little bit more of a gap between himself and Taylor. Taking a peek elsewhere in the field, up here in 5th position, Nigel Christensen now starting to now starting to put some gap between himself and Aaron Matthews. Matthews was down to less than a second, and now, trailing him by 0.3 of a second. So Matthews may have cooked those tires, as they were last down on lap number 92. We're now on 120. So just about 30 laps on those tires. We're going to see these cars tighten up, more than a rubber band over top of a bunch of newspapers.
And, it's worth mentioning, you get there, but you may not be able to pass. But Aaron Matthews closing it back up again, maybe cooling his tires off. And this situation could change numerous times over this run. And we're talking in the next 10 or 15 laps, they could trade back and forth. And, could be approaching green flag pit stops. We get to lap 130. I think it's time to start thinking about it. I don't quite know how far they can stretch it, because you're not going to make it to the end pitting on lap 130. So that almost leads me to believe that you pit early to get to lap 160 and then pit again at that point. And we know that tracks like this, the fall off's about 1 second to 2 seconds. So you can pick up quite a bit of time. And I know it's popular to contrary belief. Well, if I pit after, I'll be faster at the end of the run. And that just never works. If you miss it, the first person to pit, you usually want to be pretty quick after that if you don't want to lose time.
And losing time is something that you don't want to do, especially when Kenny Capilla leads this piece by now 0.6 of a second over Randy Mullins. And I mean, at the end of stage 2, we saw Mullins able to challenge Capilla. But Capilla right now just kind of chilling out here in the double natural, that 77 Toyota Camry, as he's got nobody in front of him except for lap cars and nobody behind him but Randy Mullins for nearly 0.75 of a second. And then as you go back behind Randy Mullins, next closest driver is Matt Cox. And I mean, Cox is way behind, at 1.3 seconds behind Mullins.
And so once again, things for the most part are spreading out, some battles around here and there. So here's where this one that's Aaron Matthews did get around Nigel Christensen. So the tune's changing just a bit. He did manage to sneak around him. And going a little bit further back here, drivers much closer together. This is Stephen Gibson once again. Brandon Bikey climbing his way back through the field up to 12th. Got 6 more spots to go to get back to where he started. He is slowly getting back through the field. He's going to have something to say by the end of this one, but he's 9.5 seconds back from the leader. Do you pit early? And I think you have to.
I think pitting early, I agree with you. I think pitting early is going to be the move here, especially if you want to have any ability to try to put some distance between yourself and the driver behind you. And I mean, the advantage here, if you do pit early, is that that's a very long pit road. So once you come down, you can go back out there, make some hay, make that time up. And then when, the drivers who haven't pitted yet have to go down, they then have to do that slow walk of shame, around that pit road, which is just forever long at this place. And it almost seems like, I feel like every time I ever raced here, my pit box was always somewhere in the middle of a turn, and it was like a blind entry.
Yeah, and and that's a good thing to point out, because the blind entry, you missed your pit box, it's over. I mean, 2 seconds on pit road is probably 5 to 6 seconds or more on this racing surface. So getting into your pit box clean and not losing time is extremely important at a racetrack as like Phoenix. And so very excited to see these green flag pit stops, and they're coming. We're almost to lap 130. They can't get to the end at 130. They might be able to get to the end if they can get to 150. But certainly not from 130. But so I think somewhere in the next 10 laps, we're going to start to see some drivers come down pit road. I'm not sure who it's going to be to start, whether it's going to be Randy Mullins, who's running second, or it's going to be Matt Cox. If I'm Randy Mullins, I was able to chase Kenny Coppola down at the end of the run. I might sit out there and wait as long as he waits. But if he comes down pit road, I'm coming down pit road.
Well, and you can see right now that Coppola and Mullins both not able to get down on the yellow line in 1 and 2. That means that those cars have tightened up, pretty bad right now. A lot of the other drivers that are still trying to use that yellow line in turns 1 and 2, we're starting to see them bobble coming out of 2, every now and then. And that's what's going to cost. In fact, if we look right here at the 23 of Jeff Taylor, now go ahead, keep it on Taylor. When they come down, you can see the 17 trying to hold that on there, but the 23 here, as we come in, they're just kind of bobbling back and forth. I know I'm switching numbers quick, but they're starting to bobble coming out of 2, and for whatever reason, because of the way the 2 transitions onto the backstretch where it's reasonably flat, that's where you start to see that car accidentally loosen up, and drivers, have to be able to react to that in real time.
Well, the one thing is do you drive far enough to the point where the car breaks loose again? And there is a limit. It gets tight, it gets tight, it gets tight, and then it's very difficult to drive from a looseness, because at that point there is no grip left anymore. You see the 11 of Paul Gallimore is now in the hunt right here with Aaron Matthews and Nigel Christensen. Christensen's in the middle. Possibly, I thought there might be a 4 wide situation with Chris Davis in here. And this is heated up quite a bit now for the 5th place position. You got 4 drivers all jockeying for it before these green flag pit stops come around.
Watch the 83 here. The 83 just kind of watching. The 83 just watching the 4 drivers ahead of him. He's at this point just kind of in the catbird seat, waiting for someone to make a mistake. And the way that you can see that rear end stepping out on him. Coming out of 4, it's almost like the rear end wants to step out on 4 exit, but the front end wants to float on 2 exit. And we can start to see that right here. There it is, as he had that front end float away and down the track. He's able to corral that in, but that's going to get more and more difficult. And, to your point, these cars do have a tendency to go, loose when they've got fresh tires, to tight when they're starting to get old, and then they start to even themselves out and go loose again, which, for the driver that has the patience and the skill to fight through that tight segment of the tire run, that's fine. And in fact, Barrett Coffey, who used to run in this league, was one of those people that, he was not good without those fresh tires, and, started to learn and teach me over time how to stay out there as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, tire saving's never been something that I've been very, very good at. I've never been terrible at it, but I'm certainly not good at it. As we're looking at Paul Gallimore here in the number 11, another driver who snuck into this a little faster last time around. I shouldn't even say a little, quite a bit faster than Aaron Matthews. So Matthews, who just snuck into the top 5, might be relegated back to 6. I think Gallimore might have just kissed the wall right there. And as we're working our way towards lap 140, green flag pit stops are coming around, Sydney.
Yeah, so I'm noticing that now if you watch as they come onto the long straightaway, all of the cars are very smooth. They're planted on the ground. There's no wobbles, like right there, no wobbles at all. But as the tires wear and the run goes on, you'll start to see people getting loose and really fighting the car to keep it on the ground.
And that's a situation really only remedied by pitting and getting a new set of tires. So we'll just kind of see how this run goes on as drivers are starting to have more and more of a handful on the racing surface. So
He just clipped the wall right there.
so Gallimore, like you mentioned, clipped the wall. Closing in on Aaron Matthews, looking to make the pass. Going to go out to the inside through the dog leg here, trying to make the pass. It's not going to work for him this time around, but if he's just trying to get a bumper, you know, to that inside of the left rear quarter panel, and once a bumper's there, it's pretty much the advantage to the lower car. Side by side down the backstretch, well, part of the backstretch, into 3 and 4 side by side. Now give the advantage to Paul Gallimore. Chris Davis might try to follow him through, and I believe Gallimore has completed the pass at this time. Chris Davis is going to look to get around Aaron Matthews as well. Matthews looking for the crossover. Drives in a little bit too much. Is going to make him a sitting duck now for Chris Davis, who's going to have the momentum out of the corner. He's going to get on the brakes. He's not able to turn that car left and get underneath that 5. Matthews is going to hang on to 6th for now.
Yeah, at this point, it's almost like Davis just kind of has to try to knife his way underneath the moment that he sees the door open. And he sees it now, but he just doesn't have the momentum, you know, coming through the dog leg.
So back to Randy Mullins, the gap from him to Kenny Copila is ever increasing as the first driver comes down pit road on lap 140. Is going to be the 13 of Johnny Shade. So green flag pit stops are now underway. I expect to see several more drivers come in awfully soon. But Randy Mullins, the gap is 2.8 seconds. It's been increasing about a tenth a lap for the last 5 laps. So Mullins not making any headway. Copila showing us that he can adjust mid-race as Tim Ortman Jr. coming down pit road. Jordan Schmeet's coming down pit road. Johnny Shade still on pit road. Jared Clark coming down. I think we're about to see the rest of the field in just a few moments, Dave.
Yeah, you know, whoa, there it is. I was about to say, getting onto, whoa, no.
Wow, that was a close one right there for Christensen.
I was about to describe how hard it is to get onto pit road here because you're coming, basically pit road is on, you know, turn 2 exit. So you're trying to get yourself down. That car is already tight because the tires are cooked. And, you know, you've basically baked them more than Cheech and Chong. So you can't get down there and make that entry without almost sliding the rear, as we saw in Christensen here, who now has decided to stay out and try to get some of those positions back.
Yeah, at this point, you know, he lost so much ground. It's worth staying out there after that incident and see maybe he'll pick up a caution, you know, trap some guys down so he can pit at that time. Gibson down pit road, Matt Campbell. Not sure if that's what Christensen's doing, but I would say that's what I would do if I just had that moment. I'd wait to see if somebody else has a moment now because he just dropped 5 positions in a hurry. Perhaps he's just trying to, you know, to gain the confidence to go back down pit road. But green flag pit stops on a track like this where it's very hot on cooked tires is tough as Jeff Taylor's coming down pit road. I'm not sure if he got to slow it up. Justin Belmonte is going to follow him down pit road as well. Pit road speed is 45 miles per hour. When you're coming off 4 at about 110, it's awfully hard to slow down on those old tires as Paul Whitley is going to join them. Up front, still have, got the hiccups. Still have not come down pit road for the top 14.
You almost need to get onto pit road. I mean, you know, you as a pilot understand, you know, your approach. I mean, sometimes your approach is from, you know, many miles outside of where your final landing spot's going to be. So you almost need to plan a lap in advance to start slowing down and bringing that car under control. And, you know, you may think to yourself, geez, I'm really, you know, slowing off the pace, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, having that control, having that patience, getting yourself on a pit road can actually save you in the long run.
Now, last week's race winner, Chad Sullivan, on pit road now. Currently scored in the 16th place position. Haven't talked much about him in this race. Brandon Bikey, we know he's got speed. He's now on pit road. He had a long pit stop last time, on pit road now. So I think he got it right this time. Gonna get into his pit box. There it is.
There's a
Right.
few great feelings in this world. There's nothing better than pulling out of that pit lane with new tires, just driving them around, getting them warmed up. At Phoenix, of all places, there is no better feeling than that fresh and like pair of tires. Those guys are so happy right now.
So what you got to be worried about though is that gave me the willies a little bit. It's getting back on to the racing surface with these really fresh tires. You're going going all out on old tires. Now you've got these tires that are got a little bit more grip, but they're going to be cold at first, and so they're going to be loose. And you don't want to take that loose car and loop it, because the track didn't change all that much other than a little bit of rubber. Turns 4 and turns 2 are not forgiving. As here comes Matt Cox down pit road. It's going to be the first car of the top 7 to come down pit road. John Binder was just in front of him. So I'm starting to think, we've made it to lap 150, Dave. These guys, they're showing right now that's a one-stop race. So I was wrong on my assumption on fuel. So everybody that's still out right now at this point can make it to the end once they make their stop.
Once they make that stop, yeah. And I mean, as I look through the field, I'm thinking to myself, at this point, this top 4, it's going to be who blinks first. Whether it's Capilla, Mullins, Carmichael, or Matthews. And I mean, basically Mullins, Carmichael, and Matthews are waiting to see what Capilla does, because they don't want to come down without him. And it looks like it's going to be Capilla. He is down pit road, and that will bring Mullins, Carmichael, and Matthews. It almost sounds like
Carmichael might have missed it. I'm not sure if he did, but he seemed awfully loose coming off the corner. Maybe he tried to come down, and then he just and then he stayed out on the track, or perhaps he was just, that front end waggle that you were talking about just out of the corner. But either way, I expect him and Matthews to come down this time. Carmichael coming around. He's going to decline pit road and go around once again.
Yeah, that was a big wobble. I'd want to take my time and get it right.
And so Aaron Matthews, Barry Sanders hanging on to the 3rd place position right here. Just going to let the 12 with fresh tires, Matt Campbell, go by.
Repping Canada. Let's go.
So,
give her, bud.
So it's worth noting that Copila, he is currently 5th, pitted on lap 151. He's just in front of Tim Wortman by 0.3 of a second. He had such a large lead over most of the field that he's not under siege by the drivers that already pitted. And that 10-lap difference staying out is going to help him start to pull away. Hunter Carmichael still out on track. Matthews just came down pit road. Looked to me like he got on pit road clean. Sanders is staying out there. I'm thinking maybe he's going to try to stay out, lead a lap, as Carmichael now coming down pit road after leading a couple laps himself.
I'm listening to you, Sydney, and you point out as many Canadians or people who grew up in Canada. Are you kind of like Alan Thicke, of course, the late father of Robin Thicke? Every time somebody in a conversation would bring up a Canadian, he'd put one finger up. Canadian, up, that guy right there, Canadian.
Well, hey, I'm noticing that he is the only Canadian in this entire grid. There is not a single other one. That's why I'm kind of pointing it out a bit. There's no one else that's from Canada. I find that a bit funny.
I always liked it when Alan Thicke would come on the Dan Le Batard show with Stu Gatz, and they would play a game and just try to lace people into their show, and it would stop Alan Thicke dead in his tracks.
Yeah, I'm not really I don't really care about Canadian culture aside from Trailer Park Boys. I can't wait to move to New York.
Okay, so anyway, back to racing now. As Barry Sanders is going to come down pit road on lap 156. After leading a couple laps, it's going to cycle through. Kenny Coppola is going to reassume the race lead with a 1.25 second gap on Randy Mullins. So somewhere Randy Mullins made up 2.5 seconds through the pit cycle. Whether or not that was he got on pit road faster or got off pit road faster, that I do not know. Tim Wortman Jr., of course, is right there with him in third, but he's got 10 lap older tires. Matt Cox is going to slowly hunt Wortman Jr. down as he pitted on lap 149. Sanders now coming out of pit road. He's back to 18th. So he got those laps led, but he's going to give up a lot of positions to lead those laps. And at this point, I think your bet is made, and he's going to be able to gain a handful of spots, but probably not that many. Next closest competition is Paul Whitley, about a second away, then 1.5, and 3 or 4 seconds. He will be faster, but not that much faster, and it might be a little too late for Barry Sanders to get a handful of positions without a late race caution.
Opila has just put down an absolute clinic on this race. He has led so many laps. This is like he's had one challenge for the lead that I saw that was notable. And yeah, this is just insane. He's owned this.
Yeah, so nothing less than what you would expect from last week's Stage 2 winner, and dominated last week at Vegas. Didn't come home with the win. Of course, he led the most laps, won Stage 2. Chase Sullivan is the driver who ended up winning, or excuse me, not Chase. Chad Sullivan, driver of the 21, won last week. Struggling this week, 28th currently. He is a lap and a half down, I might add, and sort of at risk of going more down as this race goes on. So we got 39 laps left of 200. We're going to step away for the last time and be right back to call the end of this one. Folks, thanks for being here. We appreciate you watching your driver, your friends, your family race every night here on Wednesdays with SRM for the Moonshiners Cup Series. And we'll be back in just a couple moments. Don't go away.
Welcome back to Phoenix International Raceway, formerly known as ISM, as the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series is working lap 168 of 200. Dave Regal, Jonathan Leach, and Sydney Cook in the Tony Trapasso Memorial broadcast booth with you this evening from just outside the city of brotherly love, and of course the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, as right now Kenny Capilla is leading this race over top of Randy Mullins and Matt Cox. Kenny Capilla has absolutely ran a clinic, as Sydney, you just mentioned, and I'll tell you what, I cannot be more impressed with this guy's driving.
You know, and like I said before on the other side of the break, led the most laps last week, very dominant. Won stage 2, didn't walk away with the race win, and you sort of had to feel for him. And I just sort of expected he was going to follow that race up with an oh no, there's a caution, race up with this one. And I think Shane Davis had trouble. This is gonna level the playing field and change some stuff, change the situation. So Shane Davis, the number 79, just kind of gets yeeted from behind. I can't believe I didn't have a better word to say but yeeted, but just kind of gets hit from behind there. Holy cow, absolutely smoked.
Ouch.
That is called the end of your day.
That's a concussion.
Take a look at that again. Oh, you don't have that camera view. Take a look at that again from the blimp, and just watch the way that he's going to wind up. I think yeeted is the only way that you can really describe that. There he goes, and he just
That was rough. We're trying to. We didn't get to quite watch it from the blimp view. We'll watch it one more time here. Actually, I want to censor in here. So I feel like the 16 just wasn't expecting him to slow up, the way he does. Jameson Middlemiss, of course, and so he slows up a lot, and Middlemiss has nowhere to go. And then the 79 is loose, and so he's on the brakes, and it spins him around, and just gets rocked right there.
The one thing that they won't be able to say when they do post-race review is that he didn't hold his brake. He absolutely stood on it to bring the 79 to a rest, and he thought he was okay until he wasn't.
I mean, there's just nowhere to go. When tires are 30 laps on a lot of the guys back there, then through contact, 30 laps on the tires. It's not as maneuverable anymore. And that certainly played a role in that happening. As handful of drivers came down pit road for that. Curious to know if the leaders will, the leaders did while we were going through that. So lap 170, the top 17 did pit. So we're gonna reset the field. Everybody's gonna be on equal equipment. And, this is starting to shape up just to be kind of like last time. Where the most dominant driver may not win the race based on a late race caution.
Let's hope he can pull through.
Oh, I'm sure he can pull through. It's going to be a matter of that recovery drive and what you're able to do with it. Is Kenny Coppola going to be back atop the field once we go back green flag racing? It's going to be Capilla, Mullins, Wertman, Bikey, and Alex Coffey out of McDonough, Georgia here. He's going to be restarting in 13th position, and Coffey has been quietly, kind of almost like an Army Ranger, just, crawling through the weeds and getting himself into the position now where he can really make some hay with just over 25 to go.
Let's go back up to Bikey out of Tampa Bay, Florida. He's made it all the way back to 4th. It's taken the whole race, but now he's here with about 25 to go. He's back to 4th, and he's driven through a field at a tough racetrack. What does he have for the top 2? Fresh equipment. Now he doesn't have to drive through the field. We're going to find out.
If I would have known that he was from Tampa Bay, I would have tried to look him up while I was there.
I mean, you were just there.
I literally just got home.
You got Wawa with back. You're happy. It's fine.
I am. I feel so much better. In fact, I was on the menu for dinner tonight. Kenny Capilla bringing us down the backstretch here, getting ready to go into turn 3. He's going to look to his left side. Of course, he can see The Geico restart's done a little bit better than we will. His foot's hovering just above the loud pedal. He drops his foot and takes off from the field, getting a good jump over Randy Mullins and Tim Wortman, as it is going to be a dogfight behind him, as they're all but 3, 4, and 5 wide coming through the dog leg.
Yeah, with 25 laps to go, this is your opportunity right now. 3 wide, 2 wide, whatever's going to get you a couple spots is 3 wide on row number 3. There's a driver's going to in the wall. I'm not totally sure who that is back there. Blaine Wilson, not Chad Sullivan. Must be a lapped machine, because I'm having trouble picking it out into who it was. I tried to grab it, but wasn't able to. Let's get back up to the front as Copila stepping away because of a battle between Aaron Matthews and Randy Mullins. Bikey's back to 5th. He kind of was a loser on the 3 wide. As the cars would get turned, that's
Here
the
they
43.
go. Steven Gibson absolutely gets himself hammered on the inside wall. And folks, that's not a safer barrier down there. So there's nothing to absorb all of that energy that just was displaced by Steven Gibson in the 43 machine. So he's going to have to bring it around here and go pit side for sure. And, you know, the question becomes, do you try to go down pit road earlier, or do you just get in line and wait until pit road opens without taking that penalty? And he decides to get in line.
You know, I imagine his spotter is saying, you have wheel damage right about now. But we'll see. You know, that was really tame.
If he's got a direct drive.
Go ahead.
If he's got a direct drive, that thing is pointed at 3 o'clock right about now.
That's about what I would imagine. Biggest mover, though, Aaron Matthews, all the way up to 2nd, up 26 positions now. So it's going to be him, Copila, Mullins, Wortman Jr., Bikey, Chris Davis, Hunter Carmichael, Paul Gallimore. I'm going to say the top 8 have a shot at this race.
Aaron Matthews and Kenny Copila both came down on 170. And, you know, Matthews has been very patient this entire race. You know, something that we see more and more, you know, coming to prevalence on the iRacing.com servers. I mean, you know, when you're in the public servers, you know, maybe you're a little bit more aggressive, you know, trying to get that I rating up. But at the same time, here in a league, you can afford to be patient and work your way through a field.
Oh, yeah. And you drive with these guys for multiple seasons, 10, 15 races a year. And when you really develop a good lead together like this one, kudos to Barry Sanders and the rest of his admin team, you get to know someone's tendencies. You know, okay, I can't be as aggressive around this guy. He's just as aggressive as I am. All right, he's passive. I can get past this guy. And then when you're the passive driver, you got to realize, all right, I'm not as aggressive enough. But you learned each other's tendencies. But you also learn to be respectful because you're racing with these guys and you talk to them week in and week out. And, you know, friendships are real in this venture. I couldn't decide if I wanted to call it a sport, and I certainly wasn't going to call it a game because the competition is very real, but friendships are as well.
Yeah, you know, the iRacing.com community, and it's a true community. It may be worldwide, but, you know, even here with Sim Racing Media, you, sir, have figured out how to shrink that from, you know, worldwide to literally a 4-bedroom house in Miami. I mean, you know, that's what this is all about, you know, building friendships, building relationships. And it's something that I know that Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the executive directors over at iRacing, you know, believes in. You know, so many people, you know, especially some of our leagues that we call, some of them are on 2 and 3 nights a week. So you're spending more time than usual with relative strangers. But, you know, through the chasm that is iRacing, eventually a lot of these people do cross paths in real life.
Very, very, very much so. And you know what? We're getting corrected again on the number 77's name, and I don't know which one it is now. I'm getting Copila or Copila from 2 different people. I hope he just wins the race so we can just fix this.
Indeed.
I'm so confused. I thought he told me it was Coppola last week. And now I don't know anymore.
I was saying Coppola earlier, just, you know, Francis Ford Coppola, Sophia Coppola.
Gosh, I don't even know anymore, man. I'm so confused. But it doesn't matter because the pace car turns down. pit road. Tony Trapasso would be here right now, and he would say, race fans, grab your popcorn. Grandmas, you better get up. Drivers, wipe the visor, and singe that safety belt tight. Something along those lines.
It goes like this. Here we are with 22 laps to go. It's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. 22 laps to go. Grandma, grab the sunscreen because it's sunny as hell here in Phoenix. Let's go in racing here in stage number 3.
Brings a tear to my eye. And, he called a lot of these Moonshiners races for about a year ago. And boy, do I miss old Tony. And you said it just the right way. So back to the race, 20 laps to go. It's going to be a race that he would enjoy. Side by side for third place. That's between Matthews and Bikey. Bikey trying to take third place away as Davis is going to get awfully loose beside him. Randy Mullins going for the lead.
He was sliding right there. The thing that I really love about the reconfiguration of, caution's out.
Yeah, caution again. Darren Mullins, Nicholas Atwood. Let's see what happens here. This looks like, just a big gaggle. I'm guessing Mullins gets loose. Ends up just collecting Atwood right there. We're going to try to watch it one more time. Let's try to see what happens with Darren Mullins. Driver the number 64 Chevrolet was up a couple spots when this happened. There's a bit of a gaggle in front of him. I think that's Chris Davis. I don't really know this. I'm just not really sure what happened right there. One more time. Oh, there it is. So he's below the yellow line, just gets loose, ends up collecting the 19 of Nicholas Atwood. Unfortunate for Atwood, and just, it's a fact of racing here. So 18 laps to go, Dave. Let's pull in the race leader and figure out how to pronounce this man's name.
Hey, Kenny, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
He's here now.
Hey, Kenny, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Hey, man, listen, we've been fighting this one out all night, just like you have. I mean, you've got a great car, obviously, very dominant. The problem we're having up in the broadcast booth right now is how would you like your name pronounced?
Coppola.
See, now I was right the first time. Francis Ford, Sophia, The Outsiders, Godfather.
Yup. Not my family, but pronounced the same way.
Well, man, listen, you've been dominant all night long. Take us through this race and what's going through your mind right now as you're lined up behind the pace car.
Well, there's a lot of fast cars behind me hungry to win races, so I need to lace up the boots and get to work. Randy's really fast on the short run, and Aaron made his way up here. He's got a quick car tonight as well. So I feel my strength is a little bit more mid to late run, but we got 15 to go. I'm going to push as hard as I can.
So full send, Kenny, it is then here with 17 to go. Good luck, my friend, and I'm sure that we're going to see you here on the other side on the podium.
I appreciate it, man.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right, so that puts that to rest. I don't know if we're getting pranked or if these guys just don't know how to give us the phonetics. Or if he's being pranked, I don't know.
For those of us that grew up in the 90s, it was 1-800-ABCDEFG, hooked on phonics. What? I know, you were only born in the 90s. Don't worry, it's a thing. They used to be hooked on phonics. It was a way to teach your kids how to read.
I remember my mom, just bringing me flashcards that school sent us, and I would have to sound them out. And
yeah, well,
maybe that was speech. I went to speech once because I couldn't say my last name when I was a kid. Maybe that's what that was. I don't remember. that was many a sleeps ago. Many thousands of sleeps.
As long as nobody ever had to bring it to you in Braille so you could get the feel of it.
The thing I love about the reconfiguration of this track is the dog leg is right after you start gunning it up. It creates some really chaotic restarts, and I'm really excited to see what goes down here.
What we're about to find out is the pace car is halfway down pit road. Coppola? Is that right? And Randy
Coppola.
Mullins. Coppola. Okay.
Coppola, whatever.
Oh, Jesus.
Coppola.
All right, the
Coppola.
77 is leading the field.
Ah, look at that, the old
Into
double
the
natural.
restart- Into the restart zone with Randy Mullins on the throttle. Here we go. We got the 5 Aaron Matthews making a huge heads-up move to get to the inside of the 77. Is he going to take over the lead on this restart side by side? No, the advantage is still for the 77. Right behind him, Randy Mullins and Carmichael are side by side. The rest of the field is the 3-wide parking lot, and at some points 4 wide as the 33 is going to get turned in front of the second half of the field. The 17, the 32, and the field is once again a parking lot.
The big one happens in Phoenix.
There is no
Didn't even
big
know they
one
were
at
planning for
Phoenix.
one.
It's medium.
All right, wow. All that energy, just steal it back away from me. You know, that's a little frustrating. I'm gonna be honest. I brought all the energy and then meh. But that's all right.
I mean, look, it happens to even the great ones.
I thought I saw someone spinning coming out of the dog leg. Yeah, I saw that.
We're trying to figure out how this starts here. We're going to take it from the blimp view. So yeah, you see that one car that might be Barry Sanders that got clipped down there. And it's just a bit of a hang-up. And then further up the field, we're still not done. It's just a gaggle of machines right there. And no one could get anywhere, as you see the rest of the field just... The rest of the second half of the field gets collected. Stephen Gibson, Binder, Pemberton, handful of others. Chris Spear, Shane Davis, I think, was involved in that. You know, but it's getting down to the wire, and you got to get as many positions as you can get.
Yeah, the chaos is just turning up at this point with 13 to go. I'm really excited. This is going to be fun.
Well, and here we are right now watching the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series live from Phoenix. Of course, Dave Regal, Jonathan Leach, and Sidney Cook here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. We have all but 6 nights of racing here on Sim Racing Media. First of all, if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications right here on YouTube.com. We want to welcome everybody in tonight, and thank you for making us a part of your evening. Of course, you know, here on a Wednesday, we have the Roughneck Series at 7 p.m. with our friends Angel and Sam. Then, of course, John is over here on Moonshiners, and then, you know, we've got, of course, Thursday night with Racers Elite. Looks like I'm working that race. Then Saturday we have ISNF as well as ECR. Sunday, of course, in prime time, it is literally, listen, I'm not trying to self-promote or anything, but the two best in the business, yours truly and Matt Metler on Sunday night in prime time for Sunday night NASCAR Cup Series action. Then Matt and I are back with you on a Monday for the SCL Series. And Tuesday is once again Racers Elite and SNN Xfinity Series action with Western States Racing League at 10:20 your nightcap. So all kinds of racing wall to wall here on Sim Racing Media. And folks, I cannot encourage you enough to tune in, pick a league, pick a couple of leagues, and follow them, because we don't have any sham leagues in this business. We've got the best of the best.
Follow them, join them, root for them, join us. Got great options.
I mean, look, if you want to hang out with, you know, 2 Hall of Famers, Sunday night is where it's at. You know, I said it last week and I stand by, you know, of course, Al Michaels has Chris Collinsworth, Pat Summerall had John Madden, and Dave Regal has Matt Metler.
We're lining them up again.
Before, I mean, Tony Trapasso had you, but just saying.
Yeah, that's that is true.
Just saying, you know, we're gonna bring that up. And
can you imagine? Can you imagine? Just in case, here it goes. Just in case you didn't think that he's still messing with us. That bear that I have, that you have as well, It sits on my desk. I don't touch it. And tonight, as well as last week when Matt and I got back together, he decided to jump off the desk.
He's
I
just
fell
kicking and
over.
screaming. He's like, "What are y'all doing?"
Yeah. He took one look at me and he just rolled off the desk.
Oh, he's like, "John, you got to make better choices." Anyhow, back to Green Flag Racing as Coppola, if I guess that's how you say it, Coppola, is going to be off to the races as Aaron Matthews is trying to make a move on him. It's not going to work. He's going to hang on to P1. The battle's right behind him. Brandon Bikey, Randy Mullins. That's P3. Of course, Mullins with plenty of speed. We know Bikey's got speed. He's gotten through the entire field. There's another car is going to go inside and hit the wall. I think that's Gallimore. Still green with 10 to go.
He held it together. Good move.
So up front, the
stage in
battle.
the race.
Go for it.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Gonna say up front, the battle for the lead, Coppola and Matthews. Mullins trying to get things sorted out here with Bikey and Carmichael. And look at this guy. Where did he come from? And he's gonna get turned.
Oh my.
Alex Coffey gets all the way to the top 5, gets turned, gets smoked. The rest of the field smoked. Another parking lot here in Phoenix.
I don't know what the nearest major highway is to ISM, but to me, it almost looks like the Schuylkill Expressway at rush hour. I mean, he gets sideways and the whole field just locks up.
I'm just thinking, I'm happy that these races are virtual because those would hurt if those were real wrecks. Oh my god, those would hurt. Your ego's hurting this one, but not your body, thankfully.
That's a heartbreaker for Alex Coffey. Fought all race to get back to it. All race, got all the way up there. And he got turned in a racing incident. And his night's over.
Would you rather get taken out 8 laps in or with 8 to go?
I think 8 laps in. We're going
At
to see
least
how
that
it
way
happens
you know that
right
you
here.
didn't just waste your entire evening.
I would do 8 to go for the points and for the fun of racing, but either way, it's not a great fun.
So out of 4, it
not a
looks
good
like
point.
the 3, Hunter Carmichael and him get together. Let's watch this again. I want to go on board with Carmichael if we can. So here's Carmichael. And you don't see the 15 right here. Yeah, the 15 comes up, the 3 goes down, racing incident, they get together, and now you've got tons of torn up race cars. Just like Trapasso would say, 2 cars can't occupy the same space in the space-time continuum, or however he says it. He was a real nerd, and he just didn't know it. But that right there, racing incident. So anyhow, the top 2, top 4, top 5, they're going to get to do this again. So
You've got to be frustrated if you're Coppola, because you've worked all this night, putting a really good distance between yourself and whoever happens to be running in P2, and now with the heat turned up, you're starting to get nervous because you're thinking, I last came down on 170. Here we are on 194. And every time that you take off, for a restart, you're beating the bejesus out of those rear tires.
Yeah, and we're going to go ahead with 5 to go. We're going to bring in Aaron Matthews, driver number 5. He's currently running second. Dave, he's with us now.
Hey, Aaron, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
So obviously you're going to be in full send mode. How does that car feel on restart here behind Coppola?
Man, Kenny's really good at playing restart games. That's what it's going to boil down to, is who can get the best restart. If I can manage to stay even with him, I think I got a pretty good shot of getting him in turn 1 here.
Restart games, is that like reindeer games then in the wintertime?
Yeah, something like that. And then
look, we'll give you a free pass on it as Munfordville, Kentucky's, favorite son tonight here on the racetrack is running in second position. Obviously, you're going to be looking for an open door. What's going to be your signal to take, to run through that doorway?
I won't know till I get there.
Well, we're going to let you focus on up. because you're about to get there. Good luck, and maybe we'll be talking to you soon.
Alrighty, thank you.
All right. Is this the last time we're going to do this?
I'm starting to wonder.
How many green, white checkers?
At this point, it doesn't matter.
I was going to say, at this point, it feels like we're doing it anyway. 37.
Although, you know, oh, this is fun. Anyhow, so the long way down tensions were the reindeer games. Who's going to be on the money? Who's not? I tell you what, it looks like Matthew's got an excellent restart to go with Coppola right there. Pretty side by side, cut in the corner into turn one. He's right there.
Matthews working the high side over Coppola. He's not going to allow Coppola to have that high side, but he gets tight coming out. Oh, my. He gets tight, and they are banging against the wall behind him. There is going to be some... here it comes!
There's the pain.
The 12. Oh, just shoved Bikey out of the way. That was the 12 of, well, look, Canadian Matt Campbell.
Oof.
Oh, more trouble.
Oof.
Just what you'd expect.
Up to 6.
There's going to be another caution. They're trying to keep it
There it
green.
Wow.
There it is. There's just chaos happening all over the track. It had to happen. You know, I feel for Bikey right there. You know, he had a great save, worked his way all the way back up to the front, and just like Alex Coffey, something happens. You know, it was the 12, kind of got booted a bit, hung on to it, but, you know, this is the end of a race at Phoenix in the top 6. And you got to do what you got to do. So this time around, it's probably going to be the last time around. The top 4 seems to stay the same. I think we're going to try to grab the 83 of Wortman Jr. I don't expect these guys to, you know, to pit. That's what I was trying to say. I apologize. Lost my train of thought. So joining us in the booth now is the driver number 83, Tim Wortman Jr. He started 5th. You're currently 5th. What's the racing starting to look like out there to you?
A little intense.
Intense is definitely the way to describe it. So you're 5th out of Clinton. Looks like Indiana. Do you have anything for these top 4 guys, or are you happy even keel where you're at?
I'm happy where I'm at. I'm trying not to get ran over from behind because that's kind of seems what's been going on. So, yeah, even if I fall a spot or 2, I'm happy with the results for tonight. But, you know, if something happens ahead of me, we'll try and steal it. But there just isn't enough time for me to get by 4 cars.
Yeah, I understand that, and it does seem to be a couple guys getting behind you. Take a moment, if we don't get a chance to talk to you, thank anyone you want to mention for being here and cheering you on.
Thank Nick King and Warrior Raps for putting me on this sweet throwback scheme, and Advanced Sim Racing for this great rig that I'm sitting in, and VRS Direct Force Pro for awesome set of wheel and pedals that are just helping me outperform my abilities.
Awesome. Well, maybe we'll be talking to you in a minute. Good luck hanging on to P5, and you might grab some more and enjoy the rest of the race.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Tim Wortman Jr., Dave, and Sydney having some fun here. I think this is going to be the last one. I think we're done. I think this is going to be
Why are you trying to curse it?
Because I like to have fun.
All right. Well, I mean, everybody needs a hobby.
We're just at 2 hours of race time right now.
And you know what? 2 hours of race time still here at Phoenix is not that bad. I mean, we've seen these things turn into complete disasters, and these guys have managed to keep themselves poised and under control for a majority of the race. I mean, Kenny Coppola has been under control this entire time. I mean, the double natural has been up front basically all night since the word go. And I mean, you know, you look around and you try to figure out where you're going to be next. And, you know, as we come across the start-finish line, the iRacing.com pace car lights go out one final time here as they are 2x2 on their way to the arc. And if you need an arc eye, no,
Oh
wow.
my.
Oh
Wreck under
my.
caution.
No way. No way.
That was the slowest wreck I think I've ever seen in my life. Go ahead right there to the 6 and just get on as close as you can to him. That'll be fine. Let's watch what happens here. It almost looks like he may have had a hardware failure.
I think he was just warming his tires and it just got away from him.
Well, that'll extend the caution by a lap.
Wow, we just got
Here they
back to
come.
it in time.
Here they come into the restart zone. The man in the stand has the green flag in his hand, and we take off one final time here as we are in NASCAR overtime. If the caution should come out now, between now and the white flag waving, we will rack them, stack them, and do it all over again. If the white flag comes out, we will race back to checkers. Kenny Coppola with control of the field. He leads us out of turn 2 and down the back chute. Aaron Matthews here just behind has him in the crosshairs, but he's being harassed right now by Randy Mullins.
I think the race is for second, the race is for third. As you're going to see Davis into the wall right there. Matthews is going to break away. Might have one opportunity at Coppola here. Really drives it in hard. I don't know if it's going to stick enough. He's got one more shot at it. And I just don't... Go ahead.
Popsicle sticks are down. We're racing back to checkers on the back chute as Kenny Coppola leads Aaron Matthews into turns 3 and 4. Matthews trying to give it all he's got, but he doesn't got enough. As they cross the start-finish line, the checkered flag waves, and Kenny Coppola wins the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series here at Phoenix as they are wrecking behind him on the apron. Aaron Matthews finishes in second. Randy Mullins, Tim Wortman, and Chris Davis round out your top 5. We're going to get a chance now to talk to our top 3 once they come around here. And wow, what a finish, Sid and John.
Yeah, just chaos ensuing on the last lap. We're gonna replay it real quick and try to watch a little further in the field from the perspective of our focus on Barry Sanders, who's finished 9th. Just a lot of cars all over the place, beating and banging right there behind him. I think cars going around back there, 3 wide at some points. Cars in the wall, racing back at this point.
He ran an absolutely great clinic again, but this time he was able to bring it home. Good on him.
That was out of context. But just chaos on the white flag here. But now he gets it done. Stage 2 winner last week. Most laps led. Again, most laps led this week. This time he gets it done. Kenny, welcome back to the booth. This time as the victor. Last week you were the Stage 2 winner, led the most laps. You led the most laps tonight. How does it feel to get it done?
And this is a track that I couldn't figure out for the longest time. It wasn't until about last year something started clicking with me here, and it's been a fun ride ever since. Led a bunch of laps here. Tonight the car was really good. Little bit snug in the long run. I don't like the car tight, nice and free, just rotate corners and whatnot. But took a pound of air out of the left rear, tried to free it up some. The next long run, it was a little bit too loose. Add half a pound of the left rear. Next run, it's back to tight. So you're just bouncing back and forth with adjustments all race with this thing now, it seems like.
Wow. Well, you know, you stayed ahead of the track the whole race, ahead of the track temperature and in front of the chaos, and you brought it home P1. I'm certain it feels much better after falling just short last week. I guess the floor is yours, and it's worth thinking about going forward into the season. You're starting to set yourself up pretty well. Next week we're going to Bristol. 300 miles. Or 300 laps. How do you feel about Bristol?
Bristol's another one of those tracks for me that sometimes it clicks and sometimes it doesn't. Put a setup together there that feels pretty darn good this week. So hopefully we show up next week and lead a bunch more laps.
All right. Well, we look forward to it. If there's anyone you'd like to thank, this time is now yours.
Yeah, I want to thank my sponsor, Boomer's Button Boxes, Martin Sports, all my teammates at Beast Mode Performance. Those guys, we're like a family. We build the sets together and turn laps and share data and stuff. Without them, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. And then I want to thank Team Watson Racing, Setups, Warrior Reps. I want to thank you guys up in the booth for putting the broadcast on so we can go back and watch. And then want to thank my wife. She bought me some lucky socks, told me I had to wear them tonight. So I think the lucky socks, I'm going to keep wearing them.
I like it. Lucky socks. It's the checkered flag. Well, Kenny, congratulations. Look forward to speaking with you again and seeing you next week at Bristol. Enjoy this with your folks, your family, your race team, and all your buddies, and we'll see you again.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, Dave, also now in the booth, finishing in the third place position, Randy Mullins, the driver that we talked to earlier. He is with you now.
Mount Pleasant, North Carolina's very own Randy Mullins. Hey, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Man, what a finish tonight. I mean, listen, you gave it all you had here at the end of the race. You still wind up on the podium, but and climb up 6 positions from where you had qualified. How does it feel to find yourself on the podium tonight?
It feels good. Definitely feels good. The car didn't fire off that good, so it needed to go long for me. Kenny would put some space on me, and then I was able to run him back down, win that second stage. And like he said, we were fighting either tight, and then you make an adjustment, you're fighting loose. But this car didn't really come alive till after 35 laps. So when those cautions started falling at the end, I knew I was in trouble, but I just tried to hold on to the podium, and it worked out.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating when you have a long run car and you wind up in a bunch of little short runs, especially deep into the race. It's not like it was early on. It was pretty consistent throughout. 3 cautions in the first 20 laps. I mean, as we look forward toward next week, what are you thinking as we move deeper into the season?
As we move deeper, the eye on the prize is obviously making the playoffs, but start building some setups that can maintain on some short runs and not necessarily on the long runs. I'm either good on the short run or good on the long run. I never have both of them, so hopefully we can fix that problem as we go deeper in the season. But we've started out good. We got some good points tonight, so it's a win. Even though we didn't come home first, it's still a win.
Absolutely. Well, next week, of course, you head down to Bristol, Tennessee. But before we cut you loose tonight, who do you need to tip your helmet to and thank for this run?
Definitely all my teammates at Ram Motorsports, John, my dad, my Uncle Paul, and then naturally my sponsors, Ram Welding and Fabrication and OB Builders. And then thank Barry for putting on the league. He puts a lot of time and effort into this. And then you guys up in the booth.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congratulations on the P3 finish. We'll see you next week at Bristol.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
And John, I believe that you should have Aaron Matthews with you as he's down just below us in the waiting room.
Joining the broadcast booth now, biggest mover of the race, Aaron Matthews. We talked to you. You mentioned what you needed to do to get by and possibly win this race, and we thought you had a shot at it. It looked like you got tight. Walk us through the last couple laps, and if anything could have changed, would you have done something different?
Yeah, there really wasn't much I could do different. That last restart, I did overshoot turn 1. I think that's what really cost me the win. But other than that, I just run out of laps.
Yeah,
I was telling Barry and the guys, I said, I need to string 3 laps together. I think I can get him. I couldn't do it in 2.
Well, then that leads me to my next question here. Up 26 positions. Did you just methodically get better as the race went on, or did you just have a bad qualifying run? And of course, you just had to work your way through this monstrous 39 car field.
Well, I didn't even qualify, just to tell you the truth. I gotta thank Reaper Speed Labs for the setup there. I know those cars are setups are really good on the long run. And once again, I told Barry and the guys, I'm just gonna wait and let it come to me, and that's what I done.
Well, it worked out for you pretty well, and you almost walked away victorious.
One more lap.
So going into Bristol next week, 300 laps. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a tough one. Some people's ankles are going to be sore. I've been there, done that a long time ago. What are your thoughts for that race?
Oh man, I don't know. I ain't had time to process it yet.
All right. Well,
it's probably going to be the same thing. Just wait it out and let the car come to me. Let the track build some rubber and see what happens there.
All right. Well, the floor is once again yours. If you got anyone else you want to mention, and we'll send you on back after that.
All right. Yeah, I got to think all about sheet metal, Reaper Speed Labs, RS Button Boxes, Bad Boy Racing, Hickory Harbor, Barry and Warren and Chad Sullivan, all those guys, Kyle Holden. It's really a team effort.
All right. Well, I'm certainly glad that you mentioned all your friends, your partners, everybody else. What a great run once again. I look forward to seeing you on the track next week at Bristol. I hope you are able to hold your head high, finishing second in this large field, and we'll see you next time.
All righty. Thank you.
All right, Dave. Sydney, that's gonna wrap this race up. We're gonna go through the race results, and we will get to the end of this one.
You're gonna have to take that one away, as my my SDK just decided to go away.
Yeah, mine crashed as well. So that's
I've still got the results up here.
I've got the results. I'm just not able to put the graphic up, unfortunately. But Sydney, go ahead. Start us off with the top 10. Let us know how the top 10 finished.
Okay, so first, Kenny Coppola, Aaron Matthews in second, Randy Mullins in third, Tim Wortman Jr. in fourth, Chris Davis fifth, Matt Campbell in sixth, Nigel Christensen in seventh, Blaine Wilson in eighth, Barry Sanders Jr. in ninth, and Stephen Gibson Jr. in ninth. And shout out to my Canadian Matt Campbell for coming home sixth. I think that was a great run. I don't know how he got so many. He went from like 17th to 6th in like 2 laps. I don't know how that happened, but it's great moves.
Got there with racing. Stephen Gibson was 10th. 11th is Jordan Schmitz. 12th, Justin Belmonte. Brandon Bikey recovers 13th. Dave, he was way back there after getting shoved by, I think it was the number 12 car. Finished 13th. Paul Whitley's 14th. 15th, Johnny Shade. And Blaine Woodruff 16th. Further down, 17th is Paul Gallimore. We saw him have some trouble. And, 18th, the Heartbreaker, Alex Coffey. Got into some trouble. Drove through the entire field just to get into more trouble. That one's hard to swallow. Chad Sullivan, last week's race winners, 19th. 20th is Hunter Carmichael Dave.
Yeah, quite a race tonight, and overall, as you look through the field, not one person could be, individually disappointed. I mean, these guys, battled their way a long way, more than 200 laps. That last pit stop coming so deep in the race, gave them that competitive edge here at the end to keep it exciting.
And it was exciting pretty much the whole way. 2:15, pretty much for 2 hours, 5 minutes on the total race time. Let's kind of go a little further here, looking at 20th, Hunter Carmichael, Derek Pemberton, 21st, Jeff Taylor's 22nd, 23rd, 24th, Nicholas Atwood, Jameson Middlemiss, both drivers involved in trouble, finished the race in the middle part of the field. 25th, it's Chris Spear. 26th, Dean Motley. Nick King, Trouble. We saw that 24 get turned a couple times. 28th, Matt Cox. Guy had speed, a lot of speed. I would be a little upset with that, finishing 28th. 29th, John Binder. 30th, Darren Mullins. Shane Davis, Warren Young, Jared Clark, Caden Norfree, Kyle Holden. That's going to be for 35th. 36, Ryan Huff. 37, Matt Mack and Darren Mills. And Kendall Levron did not run the race. He ran 2.5 laps, and that was enough for his night. So I want to thank the Moonshiners Racing Cup Series for letting us be here this evening. We had an outstanding event, had a lot of fun. Dave, thanks for joining me tonight. Sydney, you as well. Look forward to being back next week for Bristol, and it should be a lot of fun. There's nothing else to talk about, nothing else to mention other than for SRM fans, we'll see you tomorrow night for Racers Elite with once again with Dave in the booth and Daniel Paulus Jr. Look forward to seeing you then and next week at Bristol. Dave, you have the honors.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you once again for making us a part of your evening, because without you folks at home watching, we would have no one to talk to. So as always, we appreciate you welcoming us into your homes, onto your TVs, phones, and everything else. And as you walk down the road of life, please remember, don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.